Hey there, you beautiful souls. Welcome to the Authentic You podcast, where we dive deep into the power of authenticity and the journey to rediscovering your true self. I'm your host, Kristina Holle, and I'm beyond excited to embark on this transformative journey with you. Ever wonder how authenticity impacts relationship, career choices, and overall well-being? Well, wonder no more, because the Authentic You is your compass on this incredible adventure. So what can you expect from our show? Well, picture this: heart-to-heart conversation, inspiring stories, expert insights on the importance of authenticity. We're going to tackle the masks we wear, the societal expectations we navigate, and guide you back to the essence of who you truly are. The Authentic You podcast, where real stories meet real talk. Get ready to shine your light and live authentically. I'm really excited for today's conversation because it's about shining your light and really understanding what that looks like. And the more we can lean into that, the more powerful it is for all of us. And I'm not talking about powerful knocking things down. I'm talking about this deeper level of embodiment of who you are. And when you do, it's a game changer. So we're going to get into it today for the next hour and a bit. And let's see where this conversation goes. So the more we can learn that even our bumps and bruises, that should not stop us from shining our light. We're actually, those parts of ourselves make us much more interesting. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. My name is Kristina Holle. I am the founder of the Authentic You Coaching and Holle Consulting, and I help individuals and organizations unlock their full potential, either through leadership or personal growth or overall well-being. And many times clients will come to me, usually when they're feeling stuck, maybe in their corporate careers, or maybe they don't know what their next steps are. They could be struggling with self-confidence, or maybe they're just trying to figure out what their overall purpose is. A little bit about my background is I've been in HR senior level roles for 25 plus years in global organizations, really big ones. I've got my executive designation, and what happened really was I wrote a book during COVID, but I share this stuff with you just so you can see where I came from. I wrote this book. It really broke me open to a whole way of living, a different way, and that a better way as far as I'm concerned, where you get to really love and nurture yourself and show up as the truest part of you. We need more of you in this world. So that's what I get to do now. I get to help individuals and through many different forums to do that. And that is extremely exciting. So today we are going to talk about shining your light and what that really means. So most of us are always trying to shine, but you could be doing it from a place of surface or for the exterior. So this could be the hustling to be seen or to strive to be liked or pick me, right? It's very performative about what we think that light is supposed to look like. But ultimately, it's performative. You're doing it in a way so other people are going to say, wow, this person has arrived. And we have to be very mindful if we're going to do it effectively, that we're not getting caught up in the labels or the things that we think that we're supposed to bring to the table. Because if we are, then your light, sure, you have a light, but it is not shining the way that it could be. So I want you to think about that. It's not shining because you're constantly having to feed it in order to make it shine. If you are in alignment with who you are, then it's like a beacon. It's a part of the essence of who you are. It's how you show up in the world. It's the zest for life that you have. People just love the vibe that you have. Well, some people will love it and some people might not, and that's okay. But you are very comfortable in your skin, how you're showing up, and it's from a place of truth. The other way, and I was guilty of it, it's all the stuff and the labels and doing all this stuff. The other way is it's kind of fake. It's not saying that it's bad. It's just acknowledging that, sure, you're shining,
but it's kind of like it's like a fake radiance, if that makes sense. It's almost as though you have to buffer it to look at me. I got the promotion. Look at me. I have more money. Look at me. I got a boat. I got a house. I got this. So that stuff is awesome. I'm not trying to downplay it, but what if there was more? Because what happens when the boat gets old? What happens when you've lived in a house for 25 years? Does it lose the appeal? Does it lose the shine? And if we're operating from a place where we don't just need to earn our shine, and we understand that it's who we are that should be able to shift rooms and awaken others and really set your soul on fire, you'll know when you're sparked. You'll feel it. It'll make you uncomfortable. It'll get you a little excited. That is like your soul literally knocking at the door saying, hey, I want a little bit more here. I want to shine as bright as I possibly can. And that means that you're not proving it to anyone anymore. You're learning to embody it, who you are. But that kind of light, and those that have gone through the journey will understand, does not come without going through the darkness. It comes because you've gotten through pain moments, or you've learned to realign and be honest with yourself. You're not looking for the bypass in order to feel as though that you've arrived. You've actually learned to transmute some of that pain into your power. You show up in a very different way. You're leading from truth because you've met your shadows. So when I say shadows, for people that want to really get into this further, shadows to me are the areas of ourselves that we've disconnected from. Maybe we don't want to go into those stories, or we were hurt, or we were upset. We bury them or we bypass them. Listen, I was the poster girl for doing this for 30 years. And then all of a sudden, that book, it broke me open and I started the Explore. And it keeps going and it keeps going. And when we understand that is one of the most beautiful explores you'll ever go on, instead of being fearful of going on it, understanding yourself deeper, you learn from it and you start shining from within, because you can't just have everything really perfect and bright and for the outside world. If you want it of substance, that to me, that's almost like a fence that would tip over because it's not on a foundation. When you learn to own your story in its entirety, and you learn how to go on your, I call it the authentic you journey, and you deal with the areas that you may not really want to, you start to understand yourself on a much deeper level. There's radical acceptance. And when we say radical acceptance, it's extremely powerful. My book. So I wrote a book called The Authentic You Unleash Your Leadership Potential. Someone just messaged, what book? And I'm like, yeah, it's my book. And this book has the journey and will help you go through that. But the shadow part of ourself, I honestly think is the most beautiful part, when you can honor that part. And then you can stand in your own in a very grounded way, that it is the truest version of yourself. No one is going to make you feel less because of your circumstances, less because things have happened, less because you made poor decisions. You can stand firmly and be like, no, I've processed, I've owned it. I love that part of me as well, because it is me. The issue we have is in our society, the way we've been brought up, we've all created curated versions of ourselves. And when I say curated versions of ourselves, it's the different labels and masks that we put on because we think that we will be accepted. And it goes even deeper. We have this weird notion, and we've been taught this at a very young age, that love is conditional. And if we think love is conditional, then we will do whatever it takes to get love and attention. But what if I told you it's not? What if it's there at all times? But it has to generate from you. You have to understand this is an inside game, because the most radiant place you can be is grounded in who you are, the wholeness of who you are. And I think that that's what I really want to talk about today, is that sure, I can give you the shine bright and do this, but that is only one part of you. And the true gift is in the raw wholeness of who you are, the dark and the light. We need the contrast in order for things to flow the way that they have to flow. And I want you to understand something. You were born to be bright. You weren't born to be fitting into certain molds. You were actually born to do great things. But somewhere along the way, we picked up these narratives that started saying, well, are you sure you can do that? Or don't do this. No, you're never going to make it if you do that. Even with myself or even with clients that I've seen, it's very interesting. We get so good at telling our own little stories to ourselves that we trick ourselves. And we start telling ourselves that we're not good enough. And we start telling ourselves, oh, that's too big for me. Oh, I'm going to fall flat on my face. So forget about everybody else. We start telling ourselves that blows my mind. And I know this is resonating with people out there because I see it with my clients all the time and myself, where we start catching the patterns where we started telling ourselves stories that we're not good enough, or that wasn't for us, or we're meant to dim our light and fit into this mold. Why? Because if we are in that, we're safe. Quotation, safe. No one's going to hurt us. No one's going to laugh at us. No one's going to bully us. No one's going to put us in a situation that makes us feel not good. But we have to be honest here. And that's one thing you'll get. We need the dichotomy of both. So the idea of the yin and the yang, it is there because there's learning and contrast from each. To simplify it, you cannot have happiness from a place of truth if you haven't experienced sadness. You have to be able to say that you've experienced the other in order to truly understand it from a place of truth. Or if you don't have food and then suddenly you have a beautiful meal that you're sitting at, do you not think that there's a different level of appreciation and contrast of what that looks like? It's extremely powerful because you'll see that this happens in all situations. There's always a contrast, the sun and the moon, day and night, but we have to be able to understand that we need both of them. This is where real transmuting happens. So when I say transmuting, it's bringing you to the next level. So sure, shine your light. Sure, do great things. I want that for everybody. But what if there was another way that you can shine it, that you don't have to come back to it every 6 months or question your worth because you decided to shine bright? We have to understand that this is not about glamorizing one part and then rejecting the other part. It's really about the merging of both. It's harmony, I would say. And the only way you really can shine on a much higher level is from a place of truth. And when we say that, it's like honoring all parts of it. And I think it's so interesting to me as I speak to you right now, and I can see the growth even in myself. And I'm merely using myself as an object lesson, not because I'm super interesting. It's just a lived experience. And I truly believe that lived experience, there's many ways that we can learn, but lived experience is the most profound way of learning because you're coming at it from a place of your truth. You've gone through it. It's interesting to me as I share this story with you, where I was at that particular time in comparison to where I am now. So when I was in this position, I was in corporate at that time, and I was doing extremely well. The external world, I couldn't get enough. But we know now, looking on the side, it was all about self-worth and the illusion that we were telling ourselves that everything was great. If I make more money, bigger promotions, then look at me. And at that particular time, I was promoted. I had UK under my belt, which was like, whoa, global responsibilities, really big. And I had someone pull me aside. I was so excited about it, right? These are real things that I achieved and I put time into and worked really hard. And I had someone pull me aside and say, well, you getting your promotions are really off-putting to everyone. And I'm like, whoa, what is that? And that really sat with me. It bothered me a lot because I was at that point in my life, I'm like, why can't people just be happy for me? Why is it when I'm shining my light, I feel like every time someone's got something to say? And now in this moment, as I'm sharing this insight, it's so funny, the growth within, I don't know, maybe that's a 5-year growth. I would never even question something like that now because I realize how I was looking for other people's approval in order to feel that I could shine my light. And now I would never allow that. Yes, I'm human. Yes, well, there'll be little snippets where it comes in, but the growth is when you can catch it right away and you're like, no, I'm not holding that space. I am going to do what I need to do and show up the way I need to show up. And I really appreciate that insight because at that time I was like, oh, I'm shining my light. And every time there's people jealous, there's haters are going to hate. I used to say that all the time. They just keep coming in. But that was not coming from the most purest place because I hadn't done the work yet. And now I understand, and I want you to walk through this with me. I understand that those people, after you start working on the new way, where you understand that you are this beautiful resource of light and you show up consistently and it's not about other people, it's about you and sharing your light, sharing the frequency, sending the message. We talked about this yesterday. Some people, it's going to totally, if it's speaking to you for a reason, because that means that we are vibing very similarly. And some people may not be ready for it, and that's okay. But the truth is, now those people from that before story would never touch me, would never hook me into their situations. It doesn't matter. And I think it's interesting because the point is, it's coming from a different place. It's coming from my own internal worth, that it's the most truest place. And we all have it. We all have that capability. And when I use my stories, I'm using them as object lessons because I've got a million stories. And I actually think in a weird way, I was meant to have a million stories. So I can easily talk to lived experience. And I know that there's many of you that have lived experience, but maybe you're not ready to go there yet. But this is a part of what it looks like when you start to transform or transmute the pain into power, because you're not looking for other people to validate your existence. And you show up in an embodied way that is so awesome because it's unshakable. So let's say you did horrible things. No one can go, oh, I know this about you. And you'd be like, oh, and I'm grateful for the experience, even though it hurt me and even though it didn't make sense at the time. I'm grateful because it allowed me to be who I'm supposed to be. It allowed me to speak truth to power, really. But if we're hiding our stories and we're hiding those parts of ourselves, or we're looking for the external world to validate us, then you can't speak your truth fully. Maybe you're doing it, but I'm telling you, you've got more in you. And when you understand that, that's when it really starts to shine. I'll use some examples here so you can see it. And tell me, maybe it's you, maybe you've seen it, but I think it's important to talk this through so you can understand. When you walk into a room with your own energy, how are you seen? Are you seen as a force, or do people not see you? Do you fall back? And I will tell you, this has nothing to do with talking. This is your energy, which I have said multiple times is the most valuable thing that you have. So your energy will show up and present itself before you do. Think about this. Have you ever walked into a room where someone has had a fight, but they're not talking? Let's say it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, a couple, family member, and you walk in, and let's say you're going to get a cup of coffee or trying to just get something, and it feels awkward. That's because the energy is speaking to you. So if you are fully aligned in your light, in the essence of who you are, if you're aligned with your energy, it shines. It shows up, it shines. And it's big. And it's not just big for me, it's big for everyone. When you start to peel the onion back and look into this, if you truly believe in you and you show up in a way that you're loving yourself with full love capacity, how can people not see that? Are you at a point right now where you can look in the mirror and be like, I love you, and mean it? And if you're not, that's okay. But that's the goal. If you can get to that point, then that's going to open up doors for you. I have Robin. I'm going to bring Robin up and see what Robin has to say. Hey, Robin, how's it going?
Good evening. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
So I was thinking about the time that I actually changed jobs and I actually said out loud, I go, you know what? I'm just going to go to this job and I'm just going to fly under the radar, just do my work, get it done. And everybody laughed. I don't think so, Robin. I don't think that's you. Apparently, I have a presence when I do walk in, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I don't know. I guess it's about it. If people do know me in the room, then they're welcoming and they feel comfortable that I'm there. Maybe, I guess. When I went to visit my previous unit, they were like, "Oh, coming back." I can't go back to you. I'm sorry, but that's a good thing. That's a lot of affirmation, and you know what? It makes me feel like I do need to love myself because I'm appreciated where I go.
Mm-hmm.
But I have walked into rooms where I'm like, I get that uncomfortable feeling. Maybe if you go to, like, I don't want to say conference because I've gone to conferences and I've just made friends with people, just you meet people that you're sitting next to or whatever. But maybe if you go to a dinner or you don't know anybody there and you're just like, other people do know one another. It is an
Yeah.
awkward kind of a room.
Yeah.
So shining your light can be different in different scenarios, I guess.
Absolutely.
I'm that person that, are there any questions? I might raise my hand and ask a question, and other people will say, I had that same question. I'm so glad you asked that.
No, that happens a
Sometimes that's,
lot.
or I'll say something and people will be like, oh my God, we were all thinking that, but you're the one that actually said it. And that's, I don't know if that's just a personality thing or if that's just more of a confidence thing or my light that is coming through, my
That's your
energy when
light.
I do. And when you know something and you have a confidence about you and your light does shine. So that's how I look at that, shine my light, even though I was not a well person when I went to go and visit the unit and feel great and I was short of breath from walking all that way. I still made the effort to make sure I saw everybody that I needed to see there, whether they came to me or I quietly was able to walk to them, or it was shining your light can mean a lot of different things. It can mean you're your true self, and I just am myself. That's what I try to be.
Yeah.
And I hope that's
Yeah.
what the light is. I think is I try to be myself, and sometimes I rub people the wrong way. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to lie, but that's me. I'm also going to say what I need to say. Rude or mean, or I'm not a bully, but I literally will say things very direct. I guess that's a good way to say
Well,
it.
and then I also see people, and I've seen it through people I work with. Oh God, if there's good things going on in your life, can you please share it? Just stop
Yeah.
feeling as though it's too much. No, it's not too much. But here is the thing that I've come to realize. This is a part of the learning as well, lived experience, is that it's not too much for you, but maybe it's too much for someone else because they
Yeah.
haven't done their work.
Well, I know how I felt when I didn't do some work and somebody would walk in and they would be like, yeah, I got this. I don't know. It could be anything. Your husband and I went on this trip.
Oh,
We
it's
went to
so
this,
perfect.
and you think to yourself, Great. Here I am. And there are a lot of reasons that my light wouldn't shine lately, but
Mm-hmm.
I have not let my light go out. Maybe it's
Mm.
not as bright and shiny as it's been, but I'm not letting it go out. It's kind of like the Olympic flame because there are good things along the way. There are stops along the way where you can achieve and make your changes and
100%. And it's funny when you said that, I'm like, when your light isn't going, the flame isn't going as high, then that's where your support system, your communities are important because right? They cup the flame and they give you space in order for the flame to start to spark again. Of course, life is life, right? You're going to have your ups and downs. But when you are shining your light and you actually lean into it, you're showing up on a whole different level and you're going to attract in different things. And yes, there might be things that come along the way, but you have to ride that wave differently. It's very important to understand under no circumstances do you diminish your light. And that could be through questioning and saying, oh no, that's not for me. Oh, that's too much. Oh gosh, I've done a whole thing on too much where I work with women all the time. I know I've shared this with you where I've had people in retreat space that are like, oh, I don't want to go back because my family is going to say, oh, look at you. You think you're so good now. Oh God, yuck. Are we supporting each other? Are we really encouraging that there's more than enough to go around, that we can light each other up? Because when we do that, there's really great things that can happen. And I love what Robin said, showing up, being who you are, and it could be in many different environments in order to do that. But your light sometimes will be super bright and sometimes it'll be a little bit dimmer, but it's your light, right? But it's just honoring that and knowing that you are not intentionally turning yourself down for other people. And an example of really what it looks like, I'll never forget this. I had a boss and he was a general manager in a hotel and I thought he was the coolest guy ever. And it was early in my career and I walk in the room and there's all this chaos going on. And the president was a tyrant. And I walk in and he has his head in his hands and he's all teared up. And he's like, oh my gosh, Kristina, I don't know what I'm going to do. And here was this man that I was like, oh my goodness, you're tearing up? And it was really not because he was broken. It's because he could be himself. He was frustrated in that moment. And I felt so honored that I could be there to help with the solution and how can we work this through. But can I tell you I respect that guy because it was a very real moment. And even though he was upset in that moment, or he felt like there was a lot going on, and back of the story, president was very nice. He still showed up as his true self. He actually, now when I think about it, I would definitely put him in this category. He was an individual, just like many of us, but it's when you show up fully, it is speaking your truth to the point where your voice would shake because you're done fitting into other people's comfort zones. You're done, right? We're ready to move on. So if you are okay with pivoting and moving into new space and being comfortable with the uncomfortable, can you imagine where you're going to go? And when you're shining your light, other people may not like it because they haven't gone in there yet. Now notice how I say yet. It's a choice whether or not they are going to choose to step forward into that space or not. And when we start to really understand that, it's really allowing you to open a really big gateway. Hey, Stephen, how's it going?
Just finished work, been listening to you. I don't know, this is going in deep and there's something in there it's hitting on, and I believe it's because my light was covered up for so long.
True.
So I can tell you the process of how I discovered it was a good light. So back in 2016, when I realized I was separated, then in 2017, one of my ways of coping with that is I ride a bike, and so I would go ride. And I remember one of the first organized rides I went on, a guy from church rolls up beside me and goes, "Hey, Stephen." And I looked over and I'm like, "Oh, hi." And he's like, "How's it going?" I'm like, "Well, pretty good." The first organized ride, I wasn't sure what was involved in all this. You knew how to ride the bike, but where we were going, I was out of my zone. I was just realized it was better just to follow along. That guy was the first. And then slowly but surely through 17, I would run into some people that I had talked to on another ride, and they'd remember me, but I couldn't remember them for some reason. And slowly but surely, it occurred to me as these people saw me before, I interacted with them. And then they saw me again, and they have already made the conscious decision, hey, we're going to go talk with that guy. And so for me to put all those dots together, you're not spewing bullshit that nobody likes.
Right.
And that took at least a year for me to figure out that what I was putting out was not too loud, was not, oh, why do you have to talk to everybody? What I was doing was a good thing, but it had been tamped down for 20 freaking years at least. Why do you have to talk to everybody? Because people enjoy my conversation, I think, my banter. Because one person doesn't, you go over there and not listen. But that was such a process, figuring that out.
No, I think it's so powerful because based on our thoughts, we are trying to people please for other people, right? If you're a people person. But what if that person is a wet blanket? What if that person is a wet blanket to your light? Do you have to stay in that space? You don't. And I love the fact that you actually connected the dots. That's when the magic, that's lived experience. That's when it starts to really kick in and you're like, oh my gosh, I have beautiful energy to share with the world. And that's why I'm pulling in at that frequency, or as you said yesterday, vibration. That's why I'm pulling in these people. That is true. It's really great.
I think I talked to it with at least 2 or 3 different sort of counseling people, and they were agreeing with me because at the time I just had such doubt. I don't understand why this isn't accepted by the one sounding board that I trusted for a long time. That's about as PC as I could be. I just didn't realize the sounding board was warped.
Oh my gosh, too much.
There's a lot of self-discovery there.
But I think this is the beauty of it, right? It's so liberating when you realize that I could tell, even speaking with you, Stephen, this beautiful light, right? Like just shows up all the time, consistently. I love your laugh. It's just so full of life. And sometimes we get so caught up in thinking that we have to do that for other people. But you're saying that you can bring a horse to water, but you cannot make a horse drink. It is the same thing with human beings. They have to be able to do the change on their own, and they have to be able to do the work. Because when we learn to let that go and understand everyone's on their individual journey, you can be there as, I don't know, as a coach, that's funny, as a coach or in giving guidance, but ultimately they have to do the work. And if they can't, sometimes we have to set them free. And when we set them free, so in your situation, Stephen, I love it because you've shared multiple times, I see it so clearly. She looked like she was initiating the whole thing, but you set her free and you set yourself free. It's fascinating to me how that actually starts to unfold when we can step back and see it clearly. Your job in this world is to unleash your light, however that is. But you cannot do that if you are under someone else's wet blanket because you're waiting for them to tell you that it's good or they're smiling, so that means you smile. No, that doesn't work. or if you're in that performative stage, right? So we're doing everything. We don't want to upset people. We're on emotional cleanup for everyone. We're behind the scenes. We're doing everything for everybody else. But where's your light in this? It looks like it could be missing. Or when, and I said it with Robin earlier, the idea that when people have beautiful things that happen in their life, or if you achieved something, or let's say you did a 20K ride and you're super proud, or let's say you did whatever it is, some sort of accomplishment that you're happy and proud of. We should be celebrating that and not making people feel less. But ultimately, it starts with us because we got to know that we're worth it. We got to know that we're worth it. Hey, I'm very deserving. I worked really hard. I love that I did this. And to me, I think it's important because it helps other people understand if you don't feel, and it happened yesterday. And when I was sharing that, that one comment that was shared out of a gazillion positive comments. But if I'm being honest, this shows you it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. You could be at different levels and you'll still get little pings here and there. It's not like you just show up and you're arriving. It's little pings. But the difference is that you don't allow those situations to hold you down. You're like, reflect, interesting. That's what that was. Let's move forward. I'm not going to dim my light because we all have this amazing purpose in us that we're supposed to shine bright. So even with, let's say, Stephen's example and how people were coming in and they were talking to him, out of 3 people in particular, you don't know who those people are or what maybe you said to them or how you may have inspired them or the connection. Think about that. But if you are not showing up because you have a wet blanket or you have something a story that you've told yourself, then it impacts other people in our ecosystem, our human ecosystem, right? We're all connected in different ways, but our goal is to be bright. And because that brightness is coming from a place of love, compassion, empathy, it's the humanity of it all. It's caring about each other. It's a sense of belonging. It's a sense of community. But when we understand that suppressing our pain, pretending trauma didn't happen, doing fake positivity in order to look good for everyone else, that stuff will catch up with you. It always does. It caught up with me. And when you understand that, oh man, so you're like, now I got to start over again, or now I have to revisit this. Why not just make it a beautiful journey and understanding your stories? Because when you understand them, you can speak from a place of truth. And I will go back to speak from truth to power. To me, I say that, I feel it, and it's strong. And the idea that we all have the capability of doing it. What would you do if you weren't dimming your light? And your soul, if you want to call it soul, higher self, whatever, don't get hooked on the word. What I'm talking about is that inner essence of who you are. What is it begging you to do? When does it shine? When does it make you feel like, yes? And when you identify that, you bring that into awareness, we need to do more of it. It's a part of your internal blueprint of what you're supposed to be doing here. And they're all unique and special. But the ultimate goal is to shine bright. But like I said before, it cannot come through if we're only looking at what we think that looks like. It's almost like a facade. Oh, look, it's gold and it looks like it's so pretty and it's perfect. But reality is it's a thing. It's not even something of real depth. So what if I said to you, and I'm going into the shadow part because I think it's very important. What triggers are you avoiding? And you'll know what your triggers are. They are the red buttons, the things that get you fired up, the things that you're like, oh, why did that person, and I'm going to say Tim Hortons, this is the Canadian me, Tim Hortons stand so close to me or cut me off or do this. So if I'm reacting like that's something, there's something in there that needs to be released. something in there that needs to be healed. So you might think logically, because this is the way we've been raised, that logically our mind is saying, oh, it's not about the coffee shop. It's about somewhere that little version of you or a version of you is feeling that maybe being dismissed or maybe things didn't work out a certain way. That wound is resurfacing. It's coming up again. Don't you think it's worth it just to get rid of that? And you'll know when you have, because you just don't feel it. It doesn't bug you the same way. But you cannot get to that full energetic place. And so I'm not just talking about a little bit. I'm asking you guys to go full out. It doesn't have to be today, but it can be in your lifetime. Because when you understand that it's there, my role here is merely to tell you there's another way. Do you need to beat yourself up every day? No. Do you need to be small in order to make everybody in your family appreciate you? No. Maybe we should start modeling what it looks like to be full of life and to shine bright and not get discouraged. So what's happened, if I'm really looking at it, many people have been discouraged about shining bright. So majority of them have dimmed their light. So the more people start doing one thing, then it starts to tip and it will start to make a movement. Many of us, there has been so many of us that have been small. And every time one of us has come out, then we've pivoted and went back in. But what if we did the opposite? What if we just started more people coming up and they're bright and they're doing their things and we're high-fiving and we're excited for them instead of being jealous or gossiping or frustrated and knocking it down? What if we showed up differently in this world? That would be amazing. That would get us different results than we have today. And when we understand that can apply to any part of your life, that could apply to friendships, that could apply in business, believe it or not, how we're showing up for each other. And I would say many business environments now are set up to compete and to knock each other down. And the work that I do is we need to reset that so we can be optimal and show up in a different way, where we are encouraging people to just do what they're supposed to do on a much deeper level. It's interesting to me because as I am talking it through, it's quite clear that 90% and above have been living small. But I would say the goal is that more people will live big. And when we understand living big does not mean taking away from other people. Living big means abundance across the board. The collective, we all engage, we're all learning, we're all excited, we're doing amazing things. And we're showing up without the mask. Because the mask is trying to protect us from the sides that we don't think are going to be received very well. Oh, they're going to judge me. They're not going to like me. So I better pretend I like this, or I'm going to force myself to like this so I can fit in. But what if I told you? This is what I see so clearly now, that the system is kind of broken. The system isn't as great as we think it is because people are suffering right now to try and fit these molds and put these masks on that are super heavy. It's not working for us the way that we've been told. So even if it's one person, even if there's a couple of people that walk away and go, let me look into that. Maybe the system needs to be reworked. And I'm not here to bash things. That has nothing to do with it. I'm here for solution. And what I want you to know is that there's another way. And the more empowered you can be to love yourself and shine fully, because here's the truth of the matter. If you are actually saying, hey, I did this, or hey, I had some sort of accomplishment, ask yourself this, where is that coming from? Is it coming because you are sharing, because you're excited and you want to share this happiness? Or is it coming because you're looking for the accolade? I want everyone to be able to do what they need to do. But if we're really talking about the idea of embodiment is just showing up. And I've said this many times, and I said it even when I was speaking at the conference. They loved it. But embodiment to me is the idea of a lion never has to say that they are a lion. Never has to be like, look at me, I'm a big lion, or I have a big mane, all this stuff. Never has to do that. That's embodiment. That's shining. But the truth is, here it goes even deeper. A rabbit doesn't have to tell anyone they're a rabbit, or a dog, or a hyena, whatever it is. But we have to be comfortable and loving who we are. Because if you're sitting there always wishing you can be a lion and you're not a lion, then you've just undercut yourself completely. And all the gifts and everything that you bring into place, because in your mind, you believe that being a lion, or you believe shining that way, is better for some unknown reason. But if you're operating from a place of truth, you will be in a place of complete acceptance and love for yourself, that you'll love being a rabbit. You'll love being a zebra. You'll love being whatever that is. Because when we are comfortable and loving who we are from a radical acceptance standpoint, we understand they all have purpose. But somewhere along the way, I'm going back to this animal analogy because I think it's very clear. Somewhere along the way, we were only told that lions were good, that we only needed lions. And if you could pretend that you were a lion and act like a lion, then wow, we really like you here. But it's wrong, because if you're your whole entire life trying to be a lion, then you're always going to think that, oh my gosh, it's always going to be over the top. There is a quote from Einstein that said, if you tell a fish that it has to climb a tree, it will always think it's incompetent. But a fish has its own purpose and thing to do. That is a perfect example. We have to understand that self-acceptance is critical here to you really shining your light from a real truthful place. It's loving who you are, loving all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and accepting that your good, the bad, the ugly has a story that is supposed to be shared, interwoven into this deeper shift, into this new way. But if you are trying to be a lion, then you can't get into the depth of what you're supposed to offer here. And that you might be shining someone else's light instead of your own. Ask yourself, what's your role? Who are you in the master plan? Do you even know yet? If you don't, that's totally cool. Just telling you that we need you, whatever that is. But the number one thing is you got to work on you. You got to love you and love all of it, because it's not about becoming someone new. It's about coming home to who you are. I want you to think about that. Coming home to who you are. So can you imagine if you were trying to be something that you were not your whole life? So can you imagine, let's use the animals again because they're simple. If you're a rabbit and you've been trying to be a lion your whole life, and the lion seems so great, everyone loves the lion, lion has power, all this stuff. But then we needed someone to burrow holes and move quickly. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can do that. I could actually do that. That's so easy for me. It's so natural. That's my strength. But you're locked into this identity of trying to be a lion. Oh my gosh, how relieved would you be if you could finally say, hey, this is what I can do. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be that anymore. And we understand it is extremely powerful. There's, like I said before, a purpose for all of it. I've had this conversation with so many individuals, with teenagers, with adults, with women, with men. It is blowing my mind how much we have been under the misconception that we have to be something else. All you have to do is be you. Now, many of us don't know how to do that yet, and that's okay. But there is a journey and there is an explorer, and it's actually quite beautiful. It's fun because when you light up from that place, so let's go back to the animals again. I just think it's simple. When that bunny goes, I can burrow, I can make holes, and I can move fast, and I can do this, and they put up their hand and they're shining their light. Do you think that's coming from a totally different place? Because it's their truth. That's what they're supposed to be doing. And that's what I want for every single one of you, is to really understand that flow of how that works. But you can't do that if you don't look at yourself in its wholeness, in its entirety. And I think what's happened, what I've seen through my practice and also through different scenarios, even with myself, is that our society has really just focused on the one part. They don't want to look at the dark part because it scares them. It's emotional. Like, what am I going to do with that? But it's really a beautiful place, because when you know who you are and what you're supposed to be doing, how liberating does that get? And how you can connect with different people because you're vibing at a different level. So think about this. There's a different level of presence. When you can do that, you are starting to live and being liberated, and you can do things. You'll be honest with yourself. Do I like this or do I not? Do I need to make money? I kind of hate my job. Well, what are some other options that I can do? Because there is other options if it gives you joy. And when you can start to pivot, it becomes extremely powerful. So when you step into your presence, and for example, I know I've used this example before. So I used the example where everyone was off-putted because I was getting promoted and I was like, my feelings were so hurt. And then later on in life, last summer, where I walk into a store, I say nothing, and someone comes running around the corner and says, whoa, you are way too bright. So in those scenarios, I got two different scenarios where people are saying I'm too bright. But one, I didn't even say not a word. And I was like, oh my goodness. I could not believe that experience. And the one 5 years ago, I was like, look at me, I got a promotion and I was so happy, but I worked really hard for that promotion. And I still wasn't satisfying people. So back to that self-worth piece. I will always take the one from last summer where I commanded space without even saying a word. And every single one of us has that power to do so. And that to me is extremely powerful. Oh my goodness. And then I'm going to bring up Peter, and then I'm going to start to wrap, guys. And if you like what you had to hear, then give a follow. And then I've got that free workbook. Go check it out on the link. Hey, Peter, how's it going?
Oh, hey, listen, great talk as always. This is definitely one of those that I just hung back and just listened and didn't want to interrupt the flow. But everybody who shared, they were flowing, right? And it just really kind of worked out for this man's ears and my heart. And not really much to say, but just thank you.
I love it.
Oh, very sweet of you. So I had a small little victory today, and it wasn't my victory, it was a victory of the universe, right? So one of the companies I work with in my disability advocacy asked me to do a video, a voiceover, and I've done a couple of voiceovers before. And right away, off the rip, right? Because I have such a passion and heart for what I do. And then I was presented with the team that was put it together, and there's this script, right? What I failed to tell them is I don't do scripts very well. I've had teleprompter work, which I've had to turn down with pharma companies, simply because I can't read on the fly like that because of my dyslexia. It just doesn't work, right? The second of 3 meetings today discovered that they were going to let me just like, I know the material and just kind of speak from my heart and check out the slide deck and just rock out. And so I'm really excited about that because I was really anxious coming into it because I volunteer because I'm all in. I'm on fire for the work and serving that community. I really am. Maybe now more than ever, just because of the political climate and everything.
So great.
Yeah. So I was like, what the hell am I going to do now? I got to figure this out, right? And then the universe, just God's universe, just figures it out for you. A lot of people said, listen, we really want you to do this. We know your material. Just speak from your heart, really. I'm in, right? So,
You're like, I do this all the time. Yes.
yeah, but Kristina, it's like literally, I've literally, as a police officer, been in life and death situations, like stuff that running towards danger while everyone's running away. That's the job. That's what's in my heart. In type of
the lion energy.
It just is, right? But these things are very daunting to me. Reading out loud in front of people since the third grade, that story. And so it just, I lost a little bit of sleep last night because I knew I had this meeting. How the hell I've said yes, I can't say no. I don't want to say no. But how does this go? And I said, finally, I'm just going to relax, go to sleep. And like before my head lifted off the pillow this morning, God Source Universe had already worked it out that it was going to happen this way. And it was just really, it gave me such joy and relief, and I'm really looking forward to it. So it's just like the story we tell ourselves, right? It was a real thing, and I had some data to back it up, right? I know that when I've tried to read a teleprompter, it doesn't go well. It's simply because my optic nerve doesn't do yours does, right? And the words come out of my mouth a little bit weird, or not at all. I'll skip full sentences, right? But all that to say, it all works out.
Always
talk
does.
About data, no matter what we're going through, right, in our lives. How's this going to work out? Well, you have data because everything that you've gotten through, right? And why? Because you're here. It's very simple, right? It's and if you choose to just believe that form of fact, it'll change the vibration of your life. I'm not going to say it's going to change your life right away. But the first thing it'll change is your vibration. But I really love how you really had the contrast of what a rabbit can do and what a lion can. And we're all in this together, and we're all one big wildlife brood of
right?
folks.
Everybody just go do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, we're trying to all figure this out and navigate this thing. So thanks for being the captain of our ship for this hour.
Thanks, Peter.
And it's really good to hear you and hear your voice. So have a great night, my sister.
Oh, you too. Thanks. Take care, Peter. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. What a treat. Peter always closes off my day. That's when I know that I'm kind of wrapping. It's just such a nice way, even for me, right? When I hear back from you guys, hey, it resonated. That's awesome. That's the beauty of the community, right? We're all contributing in our own special way. And I think that is what makes it so beautiful and unique. And we said, as I was saying, if you caught it earlier about everyone being who they're supposed to be in the wildlife, everyone be either a lion, a giraffe, a tiger, I don't care what it is. When we all lean into it and we don't compete and we understand we have a purpose and we all are, what happens, it synergizes. And then it's not just one person shining their light. We have synergy and we are all shining our light. That's the future. That's how I envision it. And it just makes me happy because I'm speaking my truth and I'm really showing up in a way through lived experience. And I'm encouraging you all to step into your lived experience because there's really great things that happen.